Hi, this is Mental Health Through Will Training by Abraham Lowe. Section 2, Chapter 6, The Vanity of Knowing Better. Lucille on the Saturday panel reported that some time ago she bought an ashtray and just loved the look of it. She showed the new acquisition to her sister Martha, expecting to be complimented on her good taste. The sister, little impressed, burst out laughing. "Why," she exclaimed, "that's no ashtray. It's something to hang on the wall. Don't you see it has a hole in it?" An argument developed. Lucille insisted it was an ashtray for sure, and the sister claiming with equal insistence that it was a wall decoration at best, and certainly not an ashtray. Ashley was a Lucille was upset. I hated to admit that I had made such a silly mistake, but I checked my temper and refused to continue the argument. A few weeks later, I was in the same store where I purchased the dish and saw it was still on sale there. Just for curiosity, I asked the salesman what kind of article it was. "Why," he said, "these are ashtrays." I felt the impulse to rush home and tell my sister that she had been wrong, but what would have led to an argument but that would have led to an argument again, and might have given me my symptoms. When I arrived home, I said nothing about my conversation with the salesman and felt proud that I could exercise self-control. What Lucille and Martha fought about was not the ashtray or its possession or its value. The contest was to decide who of the sisters was more competent in discerning the meaning of the otherwise paltry and insignificant object and finding the proper name for it. As such, it was a matching of wits in which the question at issue was, who knows better? Who is the superior intelligence? Bursting with contemptuous laughter, Martha indicated that in her mind Lucille figured as a dunce, a person who did not know the difference between an ashtray and a wall plate. Lucille, with the humility born of persistent recovery training, retired into silence, tacitly admitting that perhaps she did not know, that perchance her intelligence had its limitations. To admit one's limitations is humility. To insist on one's superior knowledge is vanity. Martha was vain. Lucille was humble. I will remember the time when Lucille used to come to my office complaining about her choking and sweating and palpitations, her air hunger and pains and numbness. All I had to do was to inquire about her recent experiences at home to find the unfailing source of her symptoms and distress. It was invariably battles with her sister, her son, and husband about sheer trivialities in which she was sure she knew and was right, and others contested her claim and were equally sure she did not know and was wrong. From these battles about superior knowledge, Lucille emerged regularly prostrate with agony and weariness and torturing symptoms. In those days, the vanity of proving her superior knowledge rocked her body with endless turmoil and torment. Today, with a humble awareness of her average limitations, her body is in repose and her mind at peace. Which method effected this transformation of a vain superiority hunter into a humble person mindful of her average limitations? You who have gone through the process of training in recovery techniques know that the method is that of spotting. From what you have been taught in recovery, you know that everybody, not only my patients, has a natural impulse to prove the superiority of their thinking, intellectual validity, and to demonstrate the exquisite quality of his strength, forcefulness, and prowess, romantic vitality. Both impulses result from claims. The intellectual person claims he knows better how to think. The romantic individual has the equivalent claim to know better how to act. Both insist they know, and know better. This claim to know better, being a claim, is nothing but a pretense of vanity. The trouble is that your brothers and sisters and friends have the same variety of claims and vanities, belonging as they do to the same universal tribe of romantic intellectuals who people this globe of ours. All of all you have to do is to advance your claim of superior knowledge, and they will promptly feel that their identical claim was challenged. Your statement will be hotly contested and stiffly resisted. This merry exchange of claims and counterclaims we call temper, and its essence is that vanities clash and pretenses collide. The violence of the clash and the heat of the collision produce anger, and the anger give rise to tenseness, which, in nervous patients, precipitates symptoms. If my patients are to be rid of their symptoms, they must learn to dispense with the vanities of claiming superior knowledge and to cultivate the humility of realizing their limited efficiency in thinking and acting. This requires continuous and unrelenting spotting, a preeminent method of self-control taught to you in recovery. In order to spot your temper correctly, you must give your claim to know more and know better. You must give up your claim to know more and to know better. This ought to be easy. It ought to be easy to drop the claim which is nothing but a pretense of vanity and illusion. The tragedy is that the illusion of superior knowledge provides you with stimulation, excitement, thrill. It gives you an opportunity to fight, to score a victory, to prove your shoddy excellence and spurious value. Your symptoms make you feel helpless. They deprive you of your vitality, of zest, and self confidence. Dragging along day after day, tired, weary, and listless, despairing of ever again experiencing the thrill and rapture of being alert and dynamic. You crave the exhilarating sense of being vigorous, vital, and self assured. As it is with your symptoms, straining your energies, with your nervous fatigue sapping your efficiency, you miss the spark of life, the stimulation of interest, the throb of spontaneity. You would do anything to recapture that delightful feeling of being alive, active, and forceful. Along comes the occasion for a temper outburst. You feel challenged to maintain your claim of superiority. True, it's nothing but a claim, a pretense of vanity. But if it promises to restore, even for a few minutes, your waning sense of vitality, you will plunge into the fray and again live through the rapture and ecstasy of fighting and proving to yourself that your vitality, far from being exhausted, is again brimming with energy, throbbing with life. If a miracle of this kind can be performed by the sheer claim to know better, well, let it be a pretense of vanity and illusion, okay? It has the mysterious capacity to restore vitality and spontaneity, and if spotting it correctly is likely to undo its effect, you will strain every nerve to avoid spotting. You will rather retain your symptoms than relinquish the supreme thrill of a rejuvenated vigor. And memory is fresh yet of the days when I grappled with Lucille, trying to persuade her that the thrill provided by the tantrum is nothing but a momentary exhilaration, certain to be followed by intensified suffering and aggravated symptoms. She listened and seemed convinced, but when the occasion for the temper reaction arose, she craved the thrill and yielded. One day she came to my office beaming with joy. She told the story of how she felt provoked by a neighbor, how her temper rose and she controlled it. After that, she continued, I was relaxed and as comfortable as never before. I really felt proud of myself. She had hardly completed the sentence when a shadow settled on her face. Doctor, she said, If I feel proud of myself, doesn't that mean that I'm vain instead of humble? I asked her, is a mother vain if she is proud of her child? A wife if she adores her husband? A citizen if he basks in the glory of his country? And I went on explaining that to be proud of actual and realistic accomplishments is desirable and valuable. What the mother prides herself on is the effort and labors and deprivations which the raising of the child entailed. She is proud of her self-effacing and self-control. And if a wife is proud of her husband, be certain that what she has in mind is his accomplishments, which are the results of product of his self-control. And similarly, with the citizens extolling the virtues of his nation. These virtues are an index to the labors, successes, and exploits of past generations, which were secured at the cost of vigorous group discipline and collective self-control. Lucille understood. As I continued my explanation, she grasped the fact that every act of self-control produces a sense of self-respect. This self-respect is a form of pride. Another form of pride is vanity. The later does not point to actual and realistic accomplishments, to no, to no effort or self-discipline. It is merely a claim, pretense, and illusion. Lucille learned the distinction between the two varieties of pride, and the one realistic, the other illusional. Illusional pride or vanity is self-torturing, momentary is, I'm sorry, realistic pride leads to self-respect, repose, and relaxation. Illusory pride or vanity to self-torturing, momentary thrill, and enduring tenseness. In nervous patients, it leads in addition to perpetuating of symptoms. Okay. Many a patient has told me I have learned to control my temper outbursts. I no longer want the victories of vanity and prefer the peacefulness of humility. But my fears are still active. With one patient, it was the fear of collapse. With the other, the fear of permanent handicap. These fears do not seem to stem from vanity of knowing better. To the contrary, a fear appears to be the expression of the shrinking and retreating disposition. Hence, it is related to humility rather than vanity. But when I try to explain to a patient that his fears are groundless, that they are due to a thought of insecurity in his brain, that he can dispose of this thought if he accepts my authoritative knowledge, that he will be brave, that he can brave his fatigue and step out forcefully without any danger of collapse. When I tell him that his so-called sleeplessness is a myth, that even if he feels he hasn't slept, nevertheless, he did a good deal of sleeping and perhaps of snoring. When I confront him with the store of my knowledge about these subjects and point to my solid experience of half a lifetime, he argues and opposes and clings stubbornly to his notions and engages in insipid verbal fencing and knows better. He knows he has not slept a wink last night. He knows the fatigue is real and not nervous. He is certain his head pressure is the result of hypertension. And when I take his blood pressure and assure him that it is within normal limits and nothing to worry about, he is likely to counter with the exclamation, "But doctor, when I'm in your office, I relax and my blood pressure goes down. I am sure it goes up the moment I step out on the street." You see, whether it is the anger or the fearful temper, the situation is the same. The patient knows better. He is an arch romantic intellectual who knows and is sure and cannot be convinced without a long drawn out struggle. If he is to be cured, he must be trained to assume a humble attitude and to divest himself of the vanity of knowing. The road to humility leads through spotting to the determination to abandon the craving for the divine thrill of knowing better. That's it for today. Next time we're going to read chapter 7, which is temperament and temper. Thank you for joining me.